Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the URBONUS podcast. I'm the host, Donatas URBONUS, and I'm joined by two players. First of all, my beloved co-host from Karşıyaka, Izmir, who is coming from off a strong 32-point night against Besiktas. So give some applause to Mr. Eric McCollum.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me. Yeah.
We're hearing a lot of applause right now, of course, from our viewers and listeners. And we have a debut on the URBONUS podcast. One of the physically strongest people that we had in Europe. Now he's far in Japan, in Tokyo. I would say a hidden basketball freak, Arturas Gudaitis from Alvark, Tokyo. Welcome, Arturas.
Hello, thank you for having me today. From the Asians, of course, I'm the strongest one. Yeah.
We just noticed your T-shirt before the show, and you put that on yourself following Victor Wembanyama game against Nikola Jokic, and maybe there's some special occasion that you're wearing David Robinson.
Well, I just like his game, and that's it. I found this T-shirt in some stores and in my size, so that's the case to buy it. So nothing special about it, but of course. Matchup Wembanyama with Jokic is an interesting one, but I don't put those very close still. For Victor need to improve a lot, so we will see what happens.
Did you guys have any chance to watch any of highlights? Because we're just talking about it the following morning. Basically, the game ended in 2 or 3 hours ago.
For me personally, no, but I have a great time zone here in Tokyo to watch NBA games. It's possible that is only one competition. What can I watch? Because the time zone for EuroLeague and EuroCup and any league is really not good for me. But some basketball I'm watching overseas, NBA especially, but not that game today. So. Yeah. But in general, I don't know how finished that game. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see the highlights either, to watch it. But usually I have League Pass and I can go back and check it. But the Spurs usually aren't high on my to watch list, to say the least.
They lost 12 in a row right now. It's the third longest losing streak. Jokic had season high 39 points. With 11 rebounds and 9 assists. Wembanyama had 22 points, 11 rebounds, 6 steals, 4 blocks in 24 minutes of play. And Denver won by 12. So it was pretty good one. Jokic told something that, he's still 19, but he's great and he will definitely change the game. So that's some nice stuff coming from one of the best, or right now he's the currently best NBA player. And Jokic, he watched a lot of basketball. There's this, let's say, theory. There's this joke that he doesn't care about basketball at all, that basketball is work for him, that he finished his job on the court and that's it. It's all about horse racing, but it's not true. I remember before the season, I did a podcast with Denver Nuggets assistant GM, Thomas Balčėtis. And he mentioned that he's a basketball freak. He just recently watched Željko Obradović basketball clinic. He watched a lot of basketball, and it translates on the court, not just because of his feeling toward the game, the way he reads the game, the feel he has for the game, but also it's coming from big basketball knowledge that he also gets watching games and learning from coaches like Željko Obradović or whatever. So, yeah, let's break some stereotypes. And we might break some stereotypes about Japan Basketball League, and I love to have Arturas on this podcast to give us some glimpse of Japanese Basketball League, because it's a very interesting and promising market. It's a very growing league, a lot of ambitious plans on their map. They want to become, I think, the second best league in the world, of course, behind the NBA. They're about to build a lot of new arenas and stuff, and the first difference that I actually felt already by myself was when I was scheduling this podcast. And usually in Europe, it goes like this. With Eric or with 95% of other basketball players who play in Europe, it's like this. So what's your schedule on Monday? Oh, let me wait until Sunday night and I will tell you, when we have a practice, what's our schedule for the next week, and then we will decide. when I asked Arturas about his Monday schedule, he responded with the schedule which goes until January 7th. And it's a day-to-day schedule with games, with practices, on-court practices, lifting practices, 1 or 2 weeks in advance. He even had a team dinner and team lunch set on his schedule.
Wow.
So
wow.
Now you
wow.
spoil me that I show you all the plan of my team practices, but okay. Yeah, I mean, in Japan is really like this because they like to plan, they like to be always on time, and is the like rule to know everything, month ahead. So usually we receiving this schedule like 1 week before the upcoming month. So it's crazy how it is.
That sounds like a great lead. Always on time. They let you have a life outside of the court. You can plan things accordingly. Hey, I see some up and up for Japan. Yeah, I've heard only good things, and this reinforces that thought right here.
Yeah. So I mean, the league, as Donatas mentioned, growing like our team, Alberg team, already building the new arena, which is open 2024-25 season. So it will be huge arena with the practice facility and everything inside there. For example, today after practice, I can eat lunch, dinner over there. I can come before also the meal is there. So I mean the organization is like in NBA league. Really, they are trying their best to make for the players more comfortable. Just like everything. If you have, for example, 2 practices, you have your own room to go to rest after first one. You can eat and go rest to sleep and wake up, just go to the practice, lift, whatever you want. It's like amazing stuff over here. So you need just play basketball, which is a great thing. So yeah, that's how we.
And they pay well.
Yes.
And they pay well in Japan right now, right?
And they do pay well.
They pay well. I mean, of course, for the foreigners, for the people with the passport, because a lot of people here, after 5 years, have a possibility to take a passport, to have some test of the language, and if they are passing this test, they getting the passport, which is a big, priority for the club sign that player, and of course the salary is going up for the foreigner local player, so that's the case here. And a lot of Americans or half Americans are getting passports. We have an example with Alex Kirk. He has now 5th season over here, and I think he will try to get a Japanese passport. And the thing is, in Europe for him, I think is done. He's done. 36, 37, you are done. And here he will, if he will pass the test and have a passport, he can play till 40, 41. It's many examples here that the people with the passport are really signing the contracts, which is not smart, let's say, for the Euro basketball, but they're still playing till 40, and is the case how the league are going. Okay, now is a little bit different because demand is bigger. The teams wants to show themselves, and we have a break right now in Japan League for 2 weeks for the games, and I see that some teams who is not happy with the team roster starts to releasing players, releasing coach. We have a couple teams. I don't know, Donatas, maybe you are not familiar with the Japanese basketball market, whatever, but already we have some releases of the players, which is not very normal for Japan teams, because here is the structure, like to keep players if they are not making some troubles or whatever. They're hiring the players like better person is over the skills and everything. If the guy is not making some troubles, he is like staying in the team all the time. But now is everything changing because the league wants to grow, and the teams, if they are starting season bad, they are just cutting players and taking new ones. So that's the case.
Did you notice how curious and interested Eric was when you were explaining all these advantages, especially for older players in Japan? He was like, "Oh my god!" He was taking notes already.
I do really like Japan from what I heard, but they like big men. They don't really like us little guards. So
the case is because the Japanese guys cannot grow so much. It's a funny thing, but it is how it is, and most of the foreigners are the big guys. It's right, but if you can shoot, if you can think a little bit in the court, you definitely can play here till whatever, I don't know, you desire. I don't know, if you have 40 years old and you still have a good experience and you are like thinking, okay, with basketball IQ, you can play here, so that's the case.
Definitely nice to see a lot of good players going there and growing a lead. And I think it's good that you went there, established yourself, and it's going to provide you longevity. That's the key. Play as long as you can, as long as you enjoy it and love it, man.
Guys, before we start with some other bigger topics that includes Filip Petrusev signing by Olympiacos, Tyler Dorsey situation, some rules changes that I suggest, and Ettore Messina thing with Pangos and Shabazz Napier. Just a couple of quick questions, and I think it's the first time that I have a guard, a point guard, and also a real center on my podcast. I remember we had James Gist on the podcast, but he was like, at first he was a foreman, a power forward, then he transitioned to the center position. So now we have this typical center, and I thought about this combination and how important for you guys are each other. For a center, a guard, and for a guard, a good center. So, Eric, let's start from you. What was the best center, or what was your most beloved center that you played with, and what is the first quality that would you put on your priority list, speaking about centers, if your GM would ask, hey, Eric, who we should bring at center position?
I've been blessed to play with a lot of good centers. Jonathan Motley, Devin Booker, Jordan Mickey, right now Vernon Carey, Angel Delgado. I've been very fortunate in the center position. Raymar Morgan as well. I think the best one I played with, as far as like for the team and making the game easy for me, was Devin Booker. Just a great screener, how he changes angles, how he's able to shoot the mid-range, a three, catch lobs, how he protects the rim. A lot of times you get a big man who can either, pick and cut or pick and pop, and he could do both. And if I make a mistake on defense, if I get beat, I know he's there to erase it. He also hedges, he screens, he switches. So for me, like, just his versatility, all the things he could do offensively, defensively, and play for the team, passing. Devin Booker was a guy who made the game extremely easy for me and got me a lot of easy assists and open looks.
It's interesting you mentioned him, because I think his defense, especially one-on-one defense, is a bit underrated. I remember when I was having this conversation with Vasilij Micic, and he told that guy is so strong. I mean, it's not easy to beat him one-on-one when he's in shape, when he's in his rhythm. So that's pretty underrated thing and quality of Devin Booker.
A great big man. Great big man.
Arturas, what about you? What was your most beloved point guard that made you a good contract the following season?
I'm very depending on point guards. It's not a secret. And I have, let's say, many of them, but few what I can mention is, of course, Mike James, Kevin Pangos. Shabazz Napier has a big, let's say, prospect, let's say, to be the best of all three, because I never seen such a talented player. Really, he was like beast when I first of all see him. But I I give the credit for Mike, of course, because we have such a great season over there. Okay, the people doesn't like how we play, but we was like before my injury, we need to win 1 or 2 games. I don't remember of the 6, and we will qualify for the EuroLeague playoffs. But happened what happened. But with the Mike, I have still great relationships. He is my friend. We are talking sometimes, and that's how it is. With Kevin Pangos was really easy to play. You when you are open, he every time pass the ball. But what I can say about Mike, for me, was very easy to get the offensive rebounds also from his penetrations, because he always took 2 guys with him, and it's just really easy to play with him. So probably those 3 names are the best ones what I got in my career. So, and of course the time in Milan was like my best one, probably. That's why probably is this pick goes to Mike at top one.
That's a bunch of good point guards actually that you've played. That's a
Yeah,
very
I was
promising
very
list.
very lucky to have them all, and to see how the real basketball are playing. So
So
yeah.
so if you guys if Arturas, if you find yourself with a free evening, wife and kids, they're sleeping or they're gone, which EuroLeague team or game do you tune in on your TV? Probably it's Monaco or Red Star or
I'm usually picking the best matchup, like if 2 teams are really strong, like El Clasico or whatever. If I don't have this possibility, I mean, if in the game week is not so interesting games, I always choosing Power game or Zalgiris game, because those 2 teams are, first of all, one of my best team, and another is my local team, so I like to watch them. Also, Milan is not exception, because I have a great friends over there, which I still in contact, and those 3 teams are my probably the most watched. And uh, in any case, I'm watching all almost EuroLeague games. But in EuroLeague TV, I wake up in the morning making some breakfast or eating some breakfast. I just turning on some game, and just in 45, 50 minutes you can watch all the game, easy without timeouts and halftime. So it's easy.
Yeah, for me, I watch strictly because we're in the same league. I know we're going to run into each other in games, but I watch a lot of Efes and Fener games. Just to prepare. We'll play them throughout the regular season and possibly playoffs. But if I have to watch a game that I'm just going for pure enjoyment, it's usually going to be Monaco, just because it's fun to watch Mike. Mike James is electric. The way he scores, the way he gets to his spots on the court, how it looks effortless. So, he's a guy that I'm normally going to tune in and watch because Mike is must-see TV.
it's good you mentioned 2 Turkish teams because neither Fenerbahce nor Efes are performing up to the expectations. Both have 5 wins in 10 games. Both are in the second part of the standings, and Fenerbahce just dropped 4 in a row. What do you think? What's not clicking for both of them?
I think what hurt Fener is they had a lot of injuries, right? So when you have those injuries to key positions, missing a player like Marko Gudaitis for an extended period of time during that losing streak, that really hurt them. Kalathis was down. All those type of things when you're talking about lead guards, guys who can play the pick and roll and create and make the game easier for others. When you miss them, it's not easy to replace them. And so there was a time when they were missing maybe 4 or 5 key guys in the rotation for, I think, 3 of those losses. So I think as they get their health, they'll be in a better shape and condition. And I think, finding a way for everybody to coexist. I think when you have so many good players, so much strong talent, everybody has to take a piece of themselves and sacrifice. And if you're not able to do that, you won't reach your full potential. And oftentimes it sounds easy, but a lot of guys aren't willing to take less of the pie. So, if they can find a way to come together and maybe be content with taking some less shots here, sacrificing this or that, they could reach their potential. But like I said, sometimes too many players can be a bad thing. just because it's hard to please everyone. As far as Efes, I think, it's expected to start a little bit slower. They had a new coach. He's bringing in a new system. It's after the Ottoman era. It's a lot of pressure there, based on how they finished last year. And I think, Shane coming in there, taking that lead, coming and being a little bit more healthy this year. He has faced some injuries, but he's fighting through and, seems to look pretty good, last game. And then you replacing a guy like Micic, it's not easy, even though Darius Thompson is a great point guard. The synergy that Larkin and Micic had over those years is hard to replicate with Thompson and Larkin, just because it's only been 3 months. They're going to need time to get that, bond and that chemistry going. Also, remember Will Clyburn, in the lineup as well. He has to also, adjust to those three, because oftentimes Shane was missing time, Micic was missing time, or Clyburn. Like, one of those three were always out last year, so the full chemistry wasn't always developed. And now they come in, you have a different big man, Tyreek Jones. You're playing a different style. So you can expect, some changes there. And I think now that you're starting to see them play better, but as they start to kind of turn that corner, Derek Willis gets hurt. And, he was a key player to that team with his energy, his effort, his ability to space the court. So there could be some issues for them there. But, I think they have the potential, to turn the corner, to make changes and to grow. But all that's dependent on probably Shane Larkin. And if he continues to play at this level, you'll see them win more and more games. Is it fair to expect this performance every night? No, but he has this talent, he has this ability, and he's shown that he is capable of doing it.
Yeah, and he already performed really well against Partizan. It was his best game since, let's say, in post-COVID era that he had per performance index rating. I think it was like 38 or something. Some huge shots, huge plays against Partizan that got the win for Efes. And I mean, he's in a perfect situation right now, because in the entire game, the schemes of Erdem Can, it was based on, making Shane Larkin a center figure, and what was probably different from Ataman's era, because it was, let's say, the game started from Vasilij Micic, and Shane Larkin was used more as an off-ball player. Now he has to do way more things. He's involved more in the game, and of course, for Shane, it's probably a nice situation, or let's say it's the perfect stage for him to perform and to prove that he still belongs to this elite level.
And it's during the contract year. Just keep that in mind. That keeps you motivated.
That's true. And it's good you mentioned this thing about having a deep rotation in Fenerbahce's case. Let's not forget that Raul Neto is not playing. You can imagine what kind of rotations they would have if he was on the team. What would have happened with Nick Kalatis? We have Dorsey getting DNP situations. And this whole thing is getting interesting, because it feels like more and more EuroLeague teams are trying to expand their rotations to build deeper rosters. But at the same time, I don't know, I'm still not convinced by this strategy, unless you're Real Madrid, because that's the part of their culture. Everyone is kind of used to it. If you go to Madrid, you sacrifice your minutes, you sacrifice your playing time, but at the same time, you're competing for every title during the season. And of course, you're getting some great conditions out there. What Arturas mentioned about Japanese teams, I think that Real Madrid players also could say something similar about Real Madrid. And there's this different approach. For instance, when Gianmarco Pazzecco joined Asvel, I remember we had some conversations before our interview in Kaunas, and he mentioned that he's a shorter rotation guy. He likes to have clear alpha dogs on his teams, and also experts, role players and experts at their best skills, but someone who are not demanding a lot of playing time, or somebody who doesn't want to be alpha on that team amongst 3, 4, 5 other alphas. And then we see suddenly he's cutting Frank Jackson, who was having, it was not his best months in Asvel, but it's normal. It was his rookie EuroLeague experience. He's young. He had to adjust, and it was not enough time for him, to make some right adjustments to play his best game, although he was not that bad. But, that was what Gianmarco Pazzecco did. That was this thing of having a different approach. And I want you guys to expand on what do you think about Fenerbahce's situation. Tyler Dorsey is getting DNP against Virtus. and they lose the game. He's on the 12-man roster, but he's not getting any minutes. And I tried to dig in to check what's going on, if it's another Ettore Messina Kevin Pangos situation just in Istanbul. But so far, from what I heard, it was a bit different. It was some internal things, and it to this message to his player, because last weekend we saw him playing in Turkish league, and he played team high 30 minutes against Petkim, Alaga Petkim, and Fenerbahce won. Tyler Dorsey had 6 points. And I just wanted to hear you guys, what do you think about these DNP situations, those hidden messages that sometimes coaches are sending in their own way?
I think it's best sometimes just to have a communication with a player. Bring him in your office, talk to him, tell him what you need from him, or, what that player is not doing. And then if you feel like it's still not being, reached or met within practice, within, the attitude in that meeting, I understand it's a coach's team. They have to make their choices and they have to do what's best for the team. Oftentimes what's best for the team won't be best for each individual player. Regardless of the situation, we understand that as players that this is not the NBA. The coaches have more power than the players here. And when you come in, you have to respect that. This is just how it is. But with that said, I think coaches are starting to evolve and give players, more respect, not control, not power, but, courtesy to know like what's going on, to communicate certain things. And, oftentimes, coaches' jobs are on the line. You got to remember, they have wives, they have children, they want to stay at the high level. They want to play at this team and, to continue to lead this team. And if they don't win games, they'll be expendable. So oftentimes messages are sent and abruptly. And I think that was the case here, because even in the next game, it kind of seemed uncharacteristic. I watched it. Dorsey against Peckham, played 30 minutes. I think he only shot 4 shots. It's not like him. Normally he's aggressive. He's looking for his shots, an ISO situation off the screen. And, he didn't really seem to, to be as aggressive. It wasn't, looking at the rim as much as normal. Maybe that was by design. Maybe that was a different game plan where they were going inside. I don't know what, but, normally he's always in attack mode. So that was different.
I don't know. It was trying to motivate him, or something happened between them. But in any case, as Eric mentioned, they must go in the office or whatever and talk like a man to man, and it's the best way to solve any problems, and is the solution for everything. I think you don't need to hold back something or think about something individual or whatever. You just need to talk with the coach if you have a solution to do it, and to have everything what is the best for the team, or go to separate ways, because I think something happened between them. Knowing it to this, he's big ego guy, so probably it's something over there, but we don't know that.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, speaking of those DNPs, I mean, I'm not a player. I cannot, recall any moments, or I cannot share some valuable experience. But I believe that if you're giving DNP to somebody, you have to feel the person. You have to feel the person, how this decision might fit him, how it might motivate. Probably you're not giving a DNP if you're not sure how it will affect the player, unless it's, let's say, the last thing you're trying to get some, I don't know, to build this relationship back, or to send a message. Maybe it's the final call, let's say, for a player to make his adjustments. How did you ever have this experience? How would you react if you try to get yourself in Dorsey's or anybody's who got DNP shoes?
I think for me, most of the DNPs came when I was young. You're starting out, you're trying to develop yourself in Europe. Coaches don't really trust young guards. And, maybe there's a foreigner limit there as well. When I was in Israel, I think 2 Israelis had to be on the court at all times. And there were 6 foreigners, and I was a rookie. So that was a time where I got DNPs. And for me, it was just motivation to keep working, to get in the gym, and, find ways that I could help the team. But I was also at a stage in my career where I was trying to prove myself. I think it's a little bit more difficult once you've already established yourself in Europe and you feel like you're not getting that respect. So it's obviously not about your talent, or else they wouldn't have signed you, paid you that amount of money. It comes down to maybe something that's going on character-wise, or something that's going on internally. And once you have that conversation with your coach, man to man, I think you can figure out, what's best. But who knows, maybe there's some tension from when Dorsey wanted to leave in the summertime, and they refused to let him go. And sometimes that could be really difficult and put a strain on a relationship. Nick Gudaitis has handled it very professionally, but you never know the situation or what could happen or how things are misconstrued. He has the Greek passport, Arturas is Greek. You would think there would be, a better communication level there, but, I guess there's not. And there's something that they're going to have to work on, if they want to reach their goals as a team.
And it's good you watched this game against Petkim, because probably what you expect after getting the NP, and especially from a player and a scorer like Tyler Dorsey, you expect him to be aggressive, to score like 30 points, and to show that the coach was wrong. So if he's taking 4 shots, that probably means that the message was not received, pleasantly. Am I right? Maybe it's his way of his ways to send the message to your head coach that it's not going to work this way.
Yeah, usually when you're a scorer, they if there's a disconnect, it's probably going to be them wanting to tone down your aggressiveness. So sometimes that just might be shooting better shots. Sometimes maybe looking to create for your teammates a little bit more. And usually scorers take that 2 ways. One way, they could pout and they could be like, you don't want me to shoot? I'm not going to shoot anything. So when they have opportunities, they just don't shoot nothing. And they have opportunities to drive or to attack, they just throw the ball. And it's like, shows the coach, like, okay, I'm listening to you, but it's kind of like counterproductive. Really the coach wants you to be attacking. They want you to shoot. They want you to score. That's why they signed you. But you have to have that balance of getting your teammates involved when they create, when they do certain things. So I expected him to be aggressive, to be attacked, to be sharp, but maybe to pass, or create a little bit more for the teammates, especially with some of those guard injuries they had. Maybe that's something that they were lacking, that the coaches felt like they needed. But the 4 shot attempts in 30 minutes, that was a big surprise. I just didn't see that coming, just because he's an attacking style player and he's a really good scorer.
Donatas, you mentioned the Greek passport. So you think somebody from them dig in?
Eric mentioned the Greek passport, but I mean, I think we can remember that Tyler was not playing for the Greek national team this summer. That's one. The same happened with Nick Gudaitis, but as Eric mentioned, Nick kind of adjusted to this difficult and comfortable situation really well, using his opportunity. And with Tyler, it might be a different case. But if something happened in summer, if Tyler is not happy, and as we see from his numbers, although his averages are not that bad, like 10 points, 10.4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, although it's at 38% field goal shooting, but still it's not that bad. But I'm just not feeling that Tyler Dorsey is feeling himself in Fenerbahce. So far, I'm not convinced that it was a good fit. And I mean, it's the risk that Fenerbahce took. He joined the team in the midseason last year. It was already packed team, stacked team at their backcourt, and probably Fenerbahce, not just probably, it was also part of their plan. We are signing the best player available in the market, and also it might be a good long-term solution for the next years to come, and potentially we are getting him for a cheaper price, because if we try to hunt him in the summer, because he was already targeted by Fenerbahce in a while, his price might increase because more teams will be involved. So during the mid-season, the competition is a bit different and it's easier to get the player. But my point is that if you don't involve your player the way he expects to be involved during the second part of the season, which is not easy, it might affect your relationship from both sides. And if you start things from a negative standpoint, it might be hard to rebuild and reconstruct that relationship. At least that's how I see it.
Don't forget that Panathinaikos now is Panathinaikos actor Athens, whatever, because they signed the new deal with the main sponsor. So maybe is some money available for Tyler Dorsey, because Ataman mentioned that we have a possibility now to strengthen our team. So maybe it's the case, you never know, because there is big expectations in Athens. So and they need somebody in that position. It's my opinion, because Kyle Guy is not performing in the way what they're expecting. So
Yeah, that's true. And Ataman, especially Ataman, he's always very aggressive on the markets. And there's this interesting thing about the new sponsor. At least from what I heard, he was kind of already involved before. I mean, and it heavily impacted their offseason signings and helped Pa to build the roster. It was just a formality and a matter of time to make things official and to present it as official sponsor and to put them on the title. So I'm not sure. I mean, again, it's my educated guess, but it's not like they're joining the club just right now and now they're going to sign new players. But, who knows? I mean, Panathinaikos, they always can keep some money in advance to build and to improve the team. Just not sure. Of course, it would be a great response to Olympiacos to get Tyler Dorsey with a Greek passport, since Olympiacos got Naz Mitrolong, somebody who is going to get a Greek passport. So if they want to match Olympiacos on the market, Tyler Dorsey for sure would be an upgrade. Although we're talking about another stacked, backcourt that Panathinaikos also have, so it wouldn't be easy to please everyone in Athens, I guess.
for sure, that's for sure.
By the way, since you mentioned Panathinaikos and you're ex-player of Panathinaikos, and it was your last European team, what do you think about their rebuild and their progress so far going into this season?
Look, they changed 12 players of 13, and I think, yes, or something like that. Some Greek players, Mandzukas and Marius, stayed. I mean, as you mentioned, it's a very aggressive market. This year, they bought, I think, the best what they can. And when you put like 30 millions in whatever in per year in the year for the roster, it's not the fact that it will work, The start was really hard for them. I'm not a fan of Ataman, whatever, because I'm hearing the crazy stuff, and it's really crazy how the EuroLeague team can be like this. I mean, but
what's this crazy stuff you hear, and what's crazy to Arturas Gudaitis?
I mean, it's I don't want to mention too much, but from the practices to the scouting, whatever, and it's not like, okay, he has his way to coach, and we need to respect him because he had 2 EuroLeagues. By him is 3 EuroLeagues, whatever, I don't know. But it's crazy stories, and what the surprise for me that they're playing really good right now, especially on defense. But I giving the credit for the team as a players, as individuals, who is really good, like experience and knowing how to play basketball. That's the very important that you have on the floor. Those kind of guys like Slukas and let's say Vildoza sort is the big part of adding him in the team because he's doing a lot of stuff. So he has a message, Larkin and those guys who playing for him. That's why I think he was successful. And now he also have an experienced team who giving him a lot of good basketball, and I think they will grow up because the roster is really, really good. And okay, they had Kendrick Nunn, who doesn't have experience in Europe, but I think he will show a lot better basketball than he's showing right now, and he has a talent to be one of the main guys for Pau.
I saw Eric was smiling a lot when he mentioned Ataman doing crazy things. Probably nothing is crazy anymore for Eric after his experience with Ataman in Galatasaray.
Yeah, he has a unique style. It's going to be something different than you've ever seen, a different approach. But I will say he does get results. He is a really good motivator. And, he finds a way to assemble good teams and, to get owners and fans to believe in him. And, you see that right now in Panathinaikos. They're believing. And he's going to make bold statements. He's going to do stuff way different than you experienced. But, he does win. And so I think the Panathinaikos are excited about that part. And in Greece, they've been longer waiting, the team to return back to its normal standards. And they'll deal with, some extraordinary circumstances or some differences if that produces wins.
And guys, let's say to wrap it up about Tyler Dorsey, and it's good you mentioned Panathinaikos because maybe it could be a potential fit for Tyler Dorsey. Let's say Dorsey and Itoudis, they don't get along, and Fenerbahce puts Dorsey on a transfer market, which starts after December 30th, when players can change EuroLeague teams and join the new group. Who do you see as the perfect situation, or not even a perfect team, but just perfect situation, how to utilize a player like Tyler Dorsey? And would you see Panathinaikos as one of those better landing spots for him to show his real true potential?
As you mentioned, Panathinaikos, you have a lot of players already in that position, and it's not the perfect situation for Dorsey, I think, but it's perfect situation for the Pau because he have a passport. And it's the big advantage in Greek league to have him as a Greek player in those games against Olympiacos, because I think it's the biggest games for them, for the club, for the fans, because this rival is really big over there, and that's the big win for Pau. But for Tyler, I don't know if it's the right spot or no. But as we know, if you on the roster of the Ataman, which he using 6 players, 7 players, you good. But if you out of this rotation, I mean, it's not a good fit for him. But at the level what Tyler shows to us, everyone in EuroLeague, he must be at this rotation, I think. And if the Pau make this move, he must play, let's say. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I really liked it before the Kendrick Nunn signing. I think he would be great in Ottoman's system because he gives lots of freedom, ISO situations, pick and roll, and he'll find ways to allow a scorer to score. You've seen it with Larkin. You saw it when I played with him. You saw it with the Royal. Like all many types of guards, different styles. They've been able to be successful with him, and I think he's a guy that needs to be let loose and needs to be given freedom. And Ottoman is a coach who gives ultimate freedom. The only problem is now there's just so many players, and like you guys said, he's not a coach that plays a deep rotation, so it's not easy for you, to fit in and to do those things. And it's always hard coming to a team late in the year, but with that Greek passport, I think that makes a huge difference. I remember when I played in Greece and Olympiacos was coming off the back-to-back championship, and they were mad with Barjokis because he was losing the Panathinaikos in the Greek league. And I couldn't understand it. And they ended up, releasing him after like 2 back-to-back championships. And because he lost to Panathinaikos, I'm like, so is the Greek league more valuable than the EuroLeague? Like, I was confused, but that's the situation you're dealing with. And that's why a guy like Dorsey, his talent with the Greek passport, could be extremely valuable in Greece.
Yeah, I would like Dorsey's fit in Panathinaikos, but not sure about this case because I love Jerian Grant too much and his all-around game that he can offer. It's obvious that you're not going to bench Kostas Loukas after pay him so much and knowing his importance in Greece, and then you sign Kendrick Nunn. So now it would be really hard to make this rotation on their backcourt. But who knows? It's Panathinaikos, and as we mentioned, it's for us it's hard to understand the local league, the importance of local leagues. I mean, Arturas Gudaitis could explain us about those local games importance. Of course, did you notice any differences, or let's say, I think we spoke about it with Kendrick Perry. If you beat Olympiacos in the Greek league, you can be the bottom team in the EuroLeague. It doesn't matter at all. What counts, just beating your main rival.
For the fans, is the most important thing. The thing is rivalry with Olympiacos, and if you beat them in Greek league, you are the best for them. Doesn't matter EuroLeague. And like I said, Eric, he was confused, but it's really in Greece is like this. Okay, EuroLeague is EuroLeague, but Olympiacos, Panathinaikos, it's like the biggest thing for them, and EuroLeague is not such a big importance, which is crazy probably, but Greek people is like this. The most important thing for them is to beat Olympiacos. So.
And the last Greek team to talk about is Olympiacos, and they're like 5 minutes away from officially signing Filip Petrusev to a 2.5 year deal in Olympiacos. What do you think about this addition? What are your thoughts if it's a right fit for the team and for the player?
I felt like that they did need a scoring punch. I thought they were going to look more in the guard market, but this is a guy who can score back to the basket. He can stretch the floor. He has size, and unfortunately this season they've had some injuries. At the 4 and the 5 position, so he's a guy you can kind of slide in that position to do those things. He has his weaknesses defensively, but offensively he definitely brings a power to a team that has spurts where they don't score a lot or has dry spells, throughout the game. And this is something that, they wanted to find a player who could help the team, but the things you have to consider, you need someone who knows Europe, who can adapt, who's going to fit into that Olympiacos type of culture and style. You could tell they're together, they're a family, they're a team. They all enjoy playing for one another. So you don't want to disrupt the flow where you have a situation where maybe you have to throw out DNPs, you have to set a tone, you have to have meetings with players. So this is a guy I think who can fit into the culture seamlessly. But I do believe another guard would have been very beneficial to them. So
I think Oli have a packed 5 position with Milutino healthy and fall. They bought Petrusev in kind of Sigma place because I don't know if they're happy or no with him, but also Eric mentioned sometime maybe Petrusev will slide to the 5, especially in the key moments when we need somebody from the 5 position who can shoot the ball from the further to open up the drives. But in any case, I think they need also one guard who can help them. So, yeah.
They just brought Nazmit along. How many guards they can afford having? I mean, it's crazy. They already have like 10 guards.
Well, okay, Naz you bring because of passport. I think Naz is a very lucky guy that he have this opportunity with the passport, because you're going from the, let's say, playoff team to the Final Four final team. So with not the best performance in the season, that means a lot. But I'm not saying that he's a bad player or whatever, but I think they need some addition what can create in the key moments. We all thought that it is the player is Brazdeikis, but we're seeing that it's really hard to fit him by now. But maybe after he will be better with everything, with his shape and everything, because he has some injuries. But yeah, I mean, they need a guard who in the Lucas place, because Thomas Walkup have struggles with the shooting and everything.
I think that Olympiacos is doing something similar to what Fenerbahce did with Tyler Dorsey, to be honest, because we're talking about Petrusev, who is, by EuroLeague standards, he's relatively young and up-and-coming big man in the EuroLeague. He's still 23. He showed promising game in Red Star. He had nice moments in FIBA World Cup. It's somebody who can play in multiple positions as a foreman, as a center in some situations. So I think that Olympiacos brought him also having in mind that he might be helpful in the future. But, to me, I think that's, again, I will repeat myself, but I think it will be very important, the first impression that he is going to get and Coach Barsokas will get about him. And I don't see it, as an easy situation. You have Nikola Milutinov and you have Mustafa Fall. And although you think that Petrusev could cover some of the minutes as a 5-man, there are just no minutes left, basically. And as a foreman, you have Alec Peters, who's having a great season. He's in a top 10 by points and performance index rating in the EuroLeague, playing 29 minutes per game. And then you have Luke Sigma. And again, we're talking about feeding too many mouths, you know. So it's all about how Petrusev will accept this one, because he's coming from a situation where he was not playing in the NBA, where he was not getting a chance, and how he's going to look at this situation where you might end up like Ignas Brazdeikis, from a key player, from a cornerstone player getting 25 minutes per game, to somebody as a 10, 14 minutes player. I know that Milutinov, Fall, sometimes, or Luke Sigma, they got injury problems, so the rotation might be shorter because of that. But at the same time, if you're not relying on injuries, if everybody is healthy, it's not going to be easy to please everyone. So again, maybe I'm too biased with these deep rotations, but sometimes I don't get it when there are too many people and let's say less minutes and the very limited minutes to make everyone happy. But you know, we'll see. Maybe it's also Olympiacos' reaction to match what Panathinaikos is doing on the market, and who knows, maybe Panathinaikos was also could have been also potentially involved in this case, and they're just making moves in advance to secure good, promising big men for the future. Also getting some benefits already right now. Maybe if there's some injury concerns that we don't know. Maybe some of these big men they're playing, but it's not clear when they will be out, for how long they might be out. So yeah, they know better than us, of course. And just to wrap this up, I remember this whole segment started from my question, who do you prefer to watch in your free time? And I actually had EuroLeague TV numbers after 6 rounds, and the, let's say, most popular teams watched on the EuroLeague TV. And probably the top of the list won't be surprising. I see that Olympiacos was the most watched EuroLeague team on the EuroLeague TV platform so far. Panathinaikos comes second. They're very, very close to each other, around 10% of the total viewership. With 7%, I see Partizan, Fenerbahce. Barcelona comes 5th. Red Star 6th. And then there's Maccabi, Madrid, Milan, and Efes. So that's the top 10 most watched EuroLeague teams after 6 rounds. Before we go into Messina segment, I wanted to hear your thoughts about the rule change that I wish for, because probably you guys also watched this game as well, Bayern Munich. It was a great opener of the new gym that they have in Lyon. Great game, double overtime game. It was close to going into the 3rd overtime. Actually, that would have been the historical moment. There was no triple overtime game in the EuroLeague history. And I remember, I think Jordan Lloyd tweeted that it was probably the best game of the season. So many clutch shots, high-scoring game. You cannot script a better game for the gym opener like it happened in Lyon. The problem that I have with that game, the way it ended, and it ended on the free throw line following the play where the different team had the ball, and let's say how it looked like the last possession in that game. But Joffrey Laverne goes for a floater. The ball, he released the ball, and on the ground he hits Niels Giffey. That's an offensive foul, and eventually Niels Giffey is now shooting free throws, although his team was playing defense. And I know that according to the current rule book that we have, it was a good call, good read of the situation, and those free throws were, fully awarded, and it was completely okay according to the rule book. But what I argue to change is, like, it shouldn't be like that. The defense didn't deserve to have an offensive advantage in this situation, and Joffrey Laverne was still, I would say, in a shooting motion. He didn't land on the floor, and it was about making a shot, not trying to get the offensive rebounds or being involved with those situations. Would you agree to make a rule change? Let's say, okay, you give an offensive foul to Joffrey Laverne, you give the ball to Bayern Munich and let them decide on their last possession, not sending them to the free throw line.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
Okay,
Go ahead.
go ahead. Okay. My problem is not about rule or change the rule. You know, sometimes referees must to feel like when to call it and when not. And for example, in those situations, I have also a couple in my career when a referee want to decide the game, you know, and is the case over there, I think, because second overtime, he going for the shot. I'm not saying to call or not call, but let the guys to how to say, to
Decide the game by themselves, right?
Yes, because you cannot call this. You can say me that us will have a last possession, whatever it is, and that, but it was shot by Cabarro. Was like, okay, not so good. But I never ever, if I'm refereeing, as an ex-player, call this foul and send the guy for the 2 free throws. Is my opinion, and it's not about the rule, but sometimes as a referee, you must to act not by book, you know. You must to act like by feeling the game and everything. So my opinion is not about that is the rule is wrong, you know. It's about the ref who must to feel the situation, you know. So it's my opinion. So
Yeah, I feel the same way that in that situation, just call the charge, player control foul, take the ball out of bounds. I feel like, okay, on every charge, basically someone releases the ball. You usually rarely ever hold the ball in your hands and run someone over when you're going to shoot. You always release the ball, and then a second or two after, it's a charge card. It happens often when someone drives to the lane and passes it out to a 3-point shooter. They pass the ball first, and then they take an extra step or two, and then they run into the defender. And usually the refs don't reward free throws. And just knowing the time and the situation, knowing that that's a bang-bang play, I know it's hard to make that read, but to end the game like that after it was so special, I think it robs the fans of a classic ending. It robs those teams from their effort, their fight. And, I know it's late. I know it's 2 overtime. I know, but you gotta feel the moment, like he was saying, and just kind of gauge the game. And he could have easily, if he'd have called charge and said player control foul, ball out of bounds, no one would have questioned it. Everyone would have thought like that's a normal play. And who knows, maybe we would have had that third overtime, or maybe another special inning.
Yeah, and probably especially nowadays, those players under the basket, they're hunting for these charges, right? Did you notice the increase of those hunters that we have nowadays?
Yeah, and it's a dangerous play too. Like anytime someone's in the air, you can slide up under them. Like the charge card is so tricky, and it's like if you're going to reward this type of behavior, with someone taking the charge, getting free throws, you're going to see guys start to do it, much more frequently. Especially in the crucial time of the game, crucial moments. Just because strategically, as a competitor, if I see this gives my team a chance to win, I don't even really take a lot of charges, but I'll be out there taking charges too. But strategically waiting until after they have released the ball. So I mean, I don't know if many refs would make that call. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of guts, and maybe they wanted to go home early. I don't know, but they didn't want to stay for third overtime.
And of course, probably it depends on who is coming at you. If it's Arturas Gudaitis, you're probably not coming that charge, right? You're just getting out of his way.
No way, not taking that charge. That's gonna put me out for about 6 to 8 weeks. That charge isn't worth it. Not in a regular season game. No way. Your team needs you to play. You're more viable. Now, if it's a guard or maybe somebody slows down, okay, yeah, take a charge. But to take a charge from a big man and to risk being out for 2-3 months, running full speed down the lane, not a chance. Not a chance.
On a more serious note, we already discussed Ettore, Messina, Shabazz, Napier, Kevin Pangos situation in Milan, but I really wanted to give the players' perspective around this situation and, let's say, to put everyone in players' shoes. We all heard about the interview Messina did 2 weeks ago. Just the only change in the whole story was last week when Messina mentioned that First of all, he denied that part about Napier's text message to his friends, stating that he wished to return to Milan. Instead, he said he made a joke about it and he was misinterpreted by the journalist. And since the journalist is still silent to this day, he didn't deny or he didn't explain. He didn't give a further explanation of this whole story. Messina used it as an argument that he was right, and if there's something to be hidden from, maybe that shows that the journalist was wrong, misinterpreting the situation. But let's keep it out of the discussion. Let's talk about players. How would you feel and what would you do if you're Kevin Pangos, who's under the contract in Milan?
For me personally, if I was Kevin Pangos, I would feel betrayed. It's okay for you to be upset with me. It's okay for you to have a problem, with what I'm doing on the court. It's even okay for me not to be playing at the typical level that you expected me. But talk to me. We keep that in-house, keep that within the team, within the organization, within the front office. There's no need to go and bash me, to the media or, to mention my name, to throw me under a bus. Your job security is safe. You have a good relationship with the ownership. They're going to keep you as a coach. You've already went there several times. They said you're staying. There's no need, to do that to a player, especially a guy who's currently on your roster, at that time. And, if you ever want him to get back on the roster, ever play again, it's going to be almost impossible to mend that relationship. So, just personally, that's how I would feel. And now, if I was searching for a new team, if I was searching for another place to go, I probably would have took a settlement. Maybe there was 7 months left on the contract. And, me being, a hospitable guy, keeping the relationship, whatever, I might have took, I found another team who would want me, try to just get, similar salary, so maybe Milan only plays 3 or 4 payments and the other team picks up the rest. That would have been suitable. But now, since you threw me under the bus, since you bashed me, you talked about me, I need every dollar. I need every cent. I won't leave. I'll be a good teammate. I'll follow my contract. You tell me to practice, I'll go practice. You tell me to go here, I'll go here. But you're going to pay me every dollar. You're going to see me every day. And that's what it's going to be until you do what's right. Because you don't do people like that. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. And imagine a player throwing a coach under the bus for it. Because coaches underperform too. Coaches make mistakes, substitution mistakes, play call designs, signings of players. They make lots of mistakes because they're human. It's part of the game. It's like referees and everything. It's just not right to go and to bash a player who, is his second year with the club. And Milan prides himself on professionalism. That wasn't very professional.
And knowing Kevin, I was with him very great year for him, and he is like really, really professional guy. He is like most professional ever. And I don't think that it was some problem with him, if he cannot perform, is the part of the game and of the, as you mentioned, Eric, coaching performance also maybe not there. You cannot put the all blame on him, and also Mike mentioned that he is a couple years ago all EuroLeague player. You must respect that. You must respect the player, and you cannot throw him under the bus. But I have another also story with me in Milan when I was after my ACL injury. COVID hit. I was back after my ACL. I played a couple of games in that season. It was up and downs, a lot of things, everything, big mess. Okay, I feeling not myself, which is I'm taking responsibility. But I have still 2-year contract in Milan. And summer came, and I heard from Milan, not from Ettore, but from the people who is the GM, Donatas. Maybe you can remind me, the Greek guy, who is the...
Christos Stavropoulos?
Yeah, he used to be at Olympiacos.
Yeah, that guy. I have 2 years left, and they calling my agent and telling, hey, look, Gudaitis, we don't need him anymore. If he will be in the team, he will be not playing, he will be even out of the practices. So that I mean, it's okay with me. you're honest with me, it's okay with me, because that summer they signed Kyle Hines. But what I don't like the most, that Arturas doesn't call me and he doesn't say even one word for me, you know. So from that moment, I was lost respect for him, you know. And I'm open right now, as I never been, you know. And the people thinks that I leave Milan because of Zenit or everything. I'm really loving the city and the people over there, but it was not my decision, you know. So as I'm saying, I'm glad that they say, you know, and I'm better. I was better in the better situation than Kevin now, because he cannot enter any EuroLeague team after first round. I was okay in the summer and everything, and they informed me, but something is not on the right spots over there, and we need to first of all not blame and point the fingers on somebody. Sometimes we need to look in the mirror, you know, and tell one time it's my bad, you know. So it is the case in Milan, I think, which our people are scared to say or whatever, or be open, but sometimes you need to watch in the mirror and say, maybe it's my bad, you know. I make a mistake, but not the blame the player who you choose for the big money, you know, to play for your team. And you have this role what everybody expect to be, you know, everybody expect, I mean, Kevin to lead the team, but you need the help from the coach, from the players to do that. So that's my opinion.
Actually, Messina kind of took the blame in that interview. He said that he did a mistake, picking Kevin Pangos and expecting him to be the right driver of that team, and then eventually ended up that he's not the right driver for the team.
But it was very, for me, crazy thing what he said. He said he doesn't fit second point guard role in the NBA. He said something like this, right?
He said that's something I should have understood that when he was left out of Cavaliers rotation and dropping, let's say, from the backup point guard to non-rotation player or something. That in my eyes was unnecessary at all.
I mean, we have examples like EuroLeague MVPs going to the NBA, or like a Vasa message. He doesn't fitting now, right now, as a we are talking, but
or Campazzo.
Yeah, or Campazzo, whatever. We have many examples, and what they are not that players, you know, because in NBA is an opportunity. If you got an opportunity, you have a minute to show yourself. It's completely different story, you know. But when you are in their situations, it's really hard, you know. So.
What's the level of criticism you accept, let's say, on media by your head coach? Let's say if it was just, Kevin is not the point guard that maybe this team needs, or not the point guard that fits my style that I want to play. Was that kind of, let's say, tolerant? Would you have tolerant this remark? Or what he said about Cavs and some other stuff was, not necessary, and that what make this whole situation worse? What would be the right balance, because now we're kind of putting ourselves in a situation where you cannot criticize your player during the season, although some coaches do that, like Ergin and Ataman. I mean, Eric knows better than anybody. He's always bringing some names up, to motivate those players in his own way. But what was bad and worst about this particular example of Messina and Pangos situation?
For me, it's bringing up the past teams. That has nothing to do with anything in this situation. What happened last year in an organization, you can't really speak on, because you weren't there at the practices, you weren't there to see the competition, you weren't there to see the role, how he fit, none of those things. Like Arturas said, there's a lot of good players who don't get opportunity in NBA who come to Europe and play good, or vice versa, who are good in NBA and come in Europe and they're struggling. So I think bringing up past teams is unnecessary. I know coaches are sometimes going to criticize players, and that's part of the game. We sign up for criticizing, but to tear somebody down, is not necessary. As a player, what if I was to criticize the coach? What if Kevin Pangos went to the media before Messina and said, you know what, this is a really good coach. He's had a good career, but he's not coaching at the level that we're accustomed to. Our team's not doing well. A lot of us are underperforming. Maybe we aren't getting used in the right system. Maybe he's not tailoring the system to the players, because there's a lot of coaches out there. There's coaches who can coach only through a system. And so if these players don't fit their system exactly like a puzzle, the coach is out of sorts. And then there's coaches who coach players and they fix their system and adjust the system to the players. And those are people who can be successful anywhere, because you're going to base your system based on player strengths, and strengths may change or grow throughout the season. So you may miss some strengths and weaknesses, in the summer scouting and film, because you didn't see a player get guarded this way. You didn't see him go against this type of athlete. You didn't see this type of, decision making, through the video that quickly. And so as a coach, you also have to adapt. So yes, it's not a secret. Kevin Pangos is not playing at the level he is accustomed to that we saw at Zenit and Zalgiris. Yes, that's okay to say. We need him to play at a higher level. But also, Messina is also not coaching at that level that we've also seen in the past from those Cheska days, or from that year that Milan went to the Final Four. Because too often we have seen many players go to Milan and not play at the level they did on the previous team. Is that on the player? Did the player get worse in 3 months, in 4 months? So I think some blame lies on the player and some blame lies on the coach. And not just for selecting the player, but once the player gets there, make them fit. Make it easy for him. Adjust it. Get him some actions that's successful. Go back and watch the film when he was with Saris and Zalgiris. Use some of those offenses, some of those takes. Go see what Javi did with him in Zenit. That's what some coaches do. You humble yourself, and maybe you use some bits and pieces of another system. And I'm not putting Kevin Pangos off the hook. I expect, you get paid a lot of money. They're going to talk about you when you don't play well. We've all been there. We've all played and made good money on contracts where if you lose a game, you're the worst player ever. If I have an off game, I suck. The next week I play good, they're going to say I'm king. Like, I understand what comes with it. Like, this is what comes with it. So I just would wish that this would have been something that was kept in-house, because what do you gain by diminishing a player's value? Especially when you're trying to get rid of said player. If you're Milan, you're trying to get off that contract, right? You want to maybe get another player. Why would I bash him? I want to keep his value high so that another team will want him to unload him. Like, this is the business. This is what people do in NBA. This is what they try to do with James Harden. This is what they try to do with Damian Lillard. All those trades that they made, you're trying to get max value, right? Well, if you're a European team, you're trying to save as much money as possible to sign the next player. So why not keep the value high? That's business to me. That's professionalism. I'm not happy with you. You're not happy with me. Okay, we're going to go our separate ways. Let's not talk bad about each other, and let's find a solution.
Do you have anything to add, Arturas?
No, he tell everything, and I tell also everything what I think about them, and I think we can go forward.
So we kind of know, by the way, to finish it up with Kevin Pangos, and I think Arturas knows the best, how to get the most of Kevin Pangos. What kind of situation or team does he need to play at his full potential? Because we kind of saw a tendency already. He thrived under coaches like Šarūnas Jasikevičius and Xavi Pascal, who are known for like sophisticated basketball, for a lot of sets, a lot of smart plays, half-court basketball, right? And Kevin Pangos was, his usage was big. He was having a ball a lot, and, maybe that's the perfect environment for him to be the most successful. But since Arturas, you played with him, what did you, noticed? How to make him performing best for himself, and also for his team to be successful?
You know, for all the players, if you're playing a lot and the game on you, you are performing well, you know. In Zenit, he has a green light, you know. He has a 30 minutes. He doesn't have any backup, you know, and he was playing like a monster, you know. You cannot find this usually in the EuroLeague team, you know. But with Xavi, he has this. And I'm not saying that he particularly need this situation, you know, but he needs to be put in some situations when he feels the best, you know, attack some weakest defenders, whatever, to be in the strategic basketball, you know, some good pick and rolls with the weaker five men. I mean, it's a lot of ways to attack with him, and as we know, Milan basketball is struggling, you know, and for him, he doesn't have the greatest strength or size, you know, as a point guard. He needs strategic basketball. He needs some sets. He needs good environment, and he has ability when he feels the game. Of course, all we are like this, but the ability to be a really great basketball player, you know, because as of right now, I think he needs the most the back his confidence and to go maybe one step back, you know, and find the team when he can recreate his confidence and to be Kevin Pangos again, you know, because right now it seems that after all these talks and everything, he's not himself, you know. So I wish him to end this period as fast as he can and to find some team where he can really be himself, you know.
Do you see Zalgiris as the right team for him to recover since Zalgiris is interested? I mean, it's obvious that Zalgiris would need to do some big changes because it was all about Keenan Evans before, but maybe they would try to play Kevin Pangos as a, let's say, point guard and Keenan Evans more in an off-ball situations as that real pure scorer. Would you see that working, or it's again Kevin should look for a different team? Maybe you see even a clear destination where he would be able to thrive.
It's a hard question right now to say because in Zalgiris, Coach Kazis likes to switching defense, you know, and with Kevin is like he doesn't have this size, and for them it's like maybe it's a good fit, but okay, if you buying the Kevin, you must play him, and if you can correct your game style or whatever, it's of course good fit because he's the piece what they need because the backcourt over there is what we had there. Dovydas Gudaitis and who else? Lukas
Lekavičius, yeah.
Yes,
Tomas
so,
Dimša.
I mean, they are crying for the guard. So, I mean, of course, it's a good fit. And I think he can find himself with Keenan in the court. It's not a problem. I think for the Keenan physicality, he can guard some two men. So, if they can make it
Would you
happen.
see that work, Eric?
I mean, Zalgiris will be comfortable. He's familiar there. He's already been there before. He knows what to expect. It's a different coach, though. But I think sometimes going back where you're loved, where you've had success, you know, is usually an easier transition. You know, what would have been interesting, I think he could have fit the role nice. It would, of course, had to happen earlier in the summer. I think him at Olympiacos, he could have fulfilled Saluka's role. He's a heavy pick and roll point guard. You know, they play similar styles. They both need the ball in their hands. They both attack. He could have been, you know, that guard that kind of gives a different dynamic than Thomas Walkup. And you could play them both together because Thomas Walkup is such a strong defender. He has size. And Barjokas, you know, has a lot of pick and roll heavy action. So you know, that would have been something that could have been really interesting. But the timing probably just didn't afford it, that opportunity. You know, who would have thought we'd have been here, you know, with pending breakup with Messina and Pangos. But I think Zalgiris is a place. I think the best opportunity usually comes, maybe from a smaller team, maybe still in the EuroLeague, but maybe a team that is going to give you that opportunity that, you guys were mentioning where that ball's in your hand. I think, he made some very good points that Pangos definitely needs the ball in his hands. He needs to feel freedom. And all the teams that he has success in, he was the main guard and he was able to play through mistakes. And there's a lot of guys in Europe who it's very hard to play in that smaller role in that box when you're in that 15 to 20 minute frame. You have to be very precise, efficient, and you have to be an attacking, aggressive type of player because there's going to be games in 15 minutes where if you're not aggressive, you're not even going to feel like you're in the game. But if he goes to a place where he can get that freedom, obviously it's not going to be probably a top 6 or 7 team because those teams have a backup for a backup. Even the third guard might be even, a guy who can get in minutes and stuff like that. So I think Zalgiris could be an option. Obviously Olympiacos already made their move, but if they didn't take Nas, if they didn't have Petrusev coming, that could have been something that they could have looked at. Another guy who could help, the ball handling duties and give him maybe a backup point guard or, could split the guard opportunities with him and walk up.
So to continue the topic of getting into somebody's shoes, how do you feel and what do you do if you're Kevin Pangos' teammate?
My relationship wouldn't change with him at all. What's between him and the club is between him and the club. If he was my friend before, he'll still be my friend after. Even if we weren't friends, I would reach out just because I'm sympathetic. I'm a human being. I know I wouldn't want to see anyone go through that. So if we played together, we were on the court and we were just co-workers, because you're not friends with every teammate. Some people are just teammates and some people are friends. I would reach out, let them know, need anything, I'm here, man. And, I'm sorry how things is going, but, I wish you the best, whatever, and it was, whatever the case may be. This is something that, puts a strain, and it makes players think like, man, they did this to Kevin Pangos. They did this to Mike James. They did this to Gudaitis. They did this to all these players every year. So I'm thinking like, dang, will they do this to me? And I think when you're at the top echelon, maybe a first team all EuroLeague guys, you're probably safe from this type of treatment. But, those guys who are, making a name or establishing themselves, this is something that they could face. And, that could be something that you think about, when you're signing with a team. Obviously, if the money's right, if it's your first time in the EuroLeague, you're going to take it. But if you're a guy who has options, you're going to be wary of a team who discards players like trash and, who says things about them, and who throws you under the bus, who tries to hurt your value. At least me personally. So, that's, as a teammate, I would be compassionate. I would, feel what he's going through, and I'd be feeling bad because we're not just losing because of Kevin Pangos. One player doesn't make us lose. It's a team thing. Every individual probably could do something better. He's not the only player struggling. And, so as a teammate, Milan's going to have some things to do, fixing that aura around there, that energy, and, getting even, I guess, current players and future players to trust in that organization, because it's not much trust there from what they've displayed and from what I see from the outside looking in.
But if you in the summer on the couch and you have only one offer from Milan and you're laying down,
you sprint there. You run there immediately.
Yes, and let's not misunderstand and don't forget that it's top organization. To be honest, over there, the people who really working hard to be successful, and from the president, I mean, he trying his best that players feel happy there, but not all the mechanisms are working well. So let's say like this. But let's mention this, but that the organization is the top, and everybody must know that, because they're trying really hard to be like top level team with the charters and everything. So I just want to mention that also.
Yeah, that's true. They have some great facilities, including practice facilities. They have their personal chef in the building. So you're getting all of our Tokyo treatment over there as well. So there's a reason why some head coaches also seeking for that job. Why players would prefer going to Milan because of the conditions they can bring. But yeah, you kind of went to a good point where I was about to ask you how it might affect their future signings. If you have few teams on the table, maybe those experiences from the past, experiences from the former players, they might impact your decision. But if like you have Milan and then there's the big gap between the other teams that could match the offer financially or the condition wise, probably, I mean, in the current, it's not the NBA, right? Where usually in the NBA, I think it's about kind of similar numbers. And then you have a bigger freedom to choose from teams. Maybe that's where you're looking, oh, this head coach is like this GM is that way. In Europe, the number game, I think, works and plays a bigger role than in the NBA, and it's more important. And that's where you probably make a bigger sacrifice.
Yeah, I think it's Milan, right? Like you said, great organization when it comes to resources, when it comes to money, when it comes to having everything you need, when it comes to them trying to do things the right way. Like it's a place that players and coaches always are going to desire. But if you're a guy who has options, if you're a guy who has several offers and they're all close in money, I think as a player, you're hesitant when you see how certain players are treated other places. At least I am. I think I look at my position, I look at who was there, um, where they went after that, how their career went, all those type of things, how their experience was. And, if it's a guy who went through a negative experience, I'm not saying it's going to totally deter you, but it's something that you give pause to. And when you see a history, a track record of players signing multiple year deals and them trying to exit immediately, it makes me less anxious and less excited to sign there. So granted, obviously, if you don't have a lot of offers or if it's your first time in the year, yes, you're going to be ecstatic. But if you have an Olympiacos, a Panathinaikos, a Milan, a Madrid, or Barcelona, these caliber teams, you're probably going to go where you felt like players have been treated the best, contractually, also their experience there. And they're always going to get players just because they have money. They have all the things that you need to be a top-notch organization, and the resources are there. So players are going to go there. But I'm just saying, when you want the cream of the crop, it's going to get a little bit more tricky for you because guys with options, are going to try to avoid situations where they feel like they could be in a Kevin Pangos type of situation or when Mike was there, like, all these type of things. So I don't want people to think I think Milan's a bad organization. They are a good organization, but sometimes a few decisions can rub players and people the wrong way and put a stain on your organization.
I asked you guys about how would you feel as teammates of Pangos, also having in mind, that in some situations, players are kind of sabotaging their head coach. Watching some teams, you can feel like these players are not playing for their head coach anymore, and basically in some situations, they want their head coach to be fired. I mean, that's what their body language says. But from what I heard, the Milan's case, I mean, again, we're talking not just about the great environment, great organization that they have, but also we're talking about the top professionals. And from what I heard, I'm just not clear if that happened following the Virtus loss, because after that interview, they actually lost the game in the domestic league in Italy against Cafati. They also lost the Italian derby against Virtus Bologna. But I heard that then they had players-only meeting where they kind of, they agreed that they're not sabotaging their head coach. They want to fix their problems by themselves, and even what happened that happened. Let's stay together. Let's beat all those struggles together, and let's move forward. Not getting too much, what's happening outside. And the reaction was, at least in the EuroLeague, it was 2 consecutive wins against Efes by 16 points, and now the recent one in Belgrade against Red Star, convincing 22 points win. So let's not underestimate Milan. They have a lot of great players, a lot of talent over there, and they can make a difference to improve their team moving forward. And for sure, they will be in this, play-in, playoff conversation moving forward.
And they have a great leader. You have a guy like Kyle Hines who's seen it all. He can kind of rally the guys and, bring them in and get guys to kind of, buy in, be engaged, So anytime you have that, somebody who's respected as a player, I think that helps when you're facing adversity and struggles. A veteran who's been there, done that.
I don't imagine myself, for example, to sabotage coach or whatever, and in this level, I don't think it's possible. But it's just my opinion. I mean, whatever you don't like, or I don't know how much you need to don't like the coach that you doing some stuff which is against the team. I don't see this in this level, and I hope it's not gonna happen. In any kind of I like or don't like somebody. I just try my 100%, and that's it. I mean, and I think all the guys doing the same thing over there, or whatever is the team in EuroLeague.
Yeah, and the last guy in this conversation was Shabazz Napier. We all saw that he was, let's say, in a polite way, he was mad about the situation. He was mad at being thrown under the bus. Whether it was a joke or not, Coach Messina put him in a very uncomfortable situation, knowing that he was struggling or at least not meeting the expectations that the organization had, giving him a big contract in Belgrade. Fans are really demanding, so it was a really bad situation for Shabazz Napier. But since I have a great scorer on my podcast, and since I have a center who played with Shabazz in Zenit, and where Shabazz was really impressive in the preseason before he got injured, could you give some hope for Red Star fans why Shabazz and how put Shabazz Napier in his best situation to perform at his level that he can?
Look,
I think
for me, he's in the same level as a Mike James. If he is in the shape, he's really talented. He's really skillful. He can see the court. He can play amazing. He's really, really good player. I mean, he needs, I think, be free from injuries, and he needs some playing time. I don't know, Coach Slairopoulos, I think, sees him every day, and I hope for him, for Shabazz, that he can make it, because everybody now doubting him, but I see him for 3-4 months every day and how he can play, and I hope he can show it. Already in Milan, I think he shows some good moments, and he has very good games, and I think it's even more potential, because the player which I really believe that he can do the things for, first of all, for Red Star and himself. So I really believe in him.
I think Shabazz is a great player. I've already spoken about him, several times on the show. I believe in his talent, his gift, his ability. He can do offense and defense, isolation, pick and roll. I think he's just not playing at the level he expects of himself right now. You even hear it in some of the interviews. He said that he's not playing well, and he seems like he's focused on his team there, and he's ready to go. I think whenever you're in a city where their fans is really powerful and really engaged, you're thinking like those Greek teams, you think those Serbian teams, those teams with that type of fan base, any type of distraction is unwarranted. And I think since he's not playing to his standard that he would like, the team's not having that early success. The season is still young. He can turn it around. They can win games. There's a lot of time left. But anytime you're not playing, how you're accustomed to, and, those fan bases are very passionate, very vocal, and then something like this comes out, it can make life for you very hard. And I know, from my time in Greece, my time in Turkey, a lot of those organizations, those fan bases, they want to feel like, you want to be here, you're a part of them. So anything that, is sounding as the opposite of that could be detrimental to you. So I think it's good that he came out and he said something too, just to, squash that right where it stops, and, to let the fans and the people know where he stands, so he can just focus on winning and playing the game of basketball. That's the biggest thing. Like, having fun out there, doing what you got to do. And keep in mind, anytime you change teams, you change places, it's not easy. Even though you're a good player, you have talent, you have to adjust to a different style. Not only what coaches, the offense, the players around you, teammates, the system, everything is different. And then, they changed coaches again. And now you're kind of on the fly again. So, those aren't situations that are built for you to succeed immediately, when you're going through all these different type of changes. Usually consistency, continuity are things that keep you in the flow or hitting your rhythm faster. I'm not saying he won't get there. I'm just saying that these are all things that could impede that progress, and slow down your process. So, but I do think, just continue to keep letting him play, giving him the ball in his hands, letting him make plays. That's what you do. If a good player is struggling, you keep going to him. I'm not saying you play him the whole game, all those type of things, but you keep giving him opportunities. You instill confidence in him, and I think Stropolos, the coach at Red Star, will do this. I think he empowers his players. He's an ex-coach of mine, and I enjoyed his system and it made it easy. He's the type of guy, as long as you're defending and you're playing hard, there will be ample opportunities offensively, and freedom.
Okay, guys, let's finish the podcast with few quick questions. The first one goes to Arturas, since we have a center on this podcast. We're really intrigued to hear Arturas ranking top 3 current EuroLeague centers based on their season start performance. So Arturas, the stage is yours.
What do you think about Chima Moneke? He's a 4 or 5 more?
I mean, Chima Moneke, just in general, is the guy you cannot put in any frame. I mean, his game in a lot of cases goes beyond logics. Really, sometimes he's playing ISO, sometimes he's shooting contested threes, and he's making those. So, I mean, as soon as you're efficient, it doesn't matter what he's doing on the floor. Maybe he's breaking some coaches' systems or whatever, but he's super efficient, and he's changing the game with his energy and his unpredictability. So, I mean, regarding Moneke, I wouldn't put him in any position. So, I don't know. Maybe it would be fair to list him as a center also.
No, so let's put him out then, if you have this opinion. Okay, number 1 for me is Matthias Lesor. His energy, his ability to fire up the teammates, and I have now him, like, let's say, bigger respect, because I was thinking, okay, in Partizan he has a big minute time, great coach and everything, but he came to the new team and he put his presence over there, and Papa playing really good right now, and I'm really like how he playing, and he's a big part of everything what happening now in Pau. Number 2 is Jan Vesely. For me, how Barca starts the season, everybody was surprised, and Eric mentioned Kyle Hines in the Milano team as the leader. I think in Barca Vesely is the same type of guy who has a really big experience, and his numbers are really good this season. He seems like back real good, Jan Vesely. He hitting the jumpers, he playing amazing defense, and I really like how he plays this part of the season. And number 3, I was thinking, you know what? It will be a surprise for you guys. I gave it for Vincent Poirier. Because
I was thinking that too. You've been playing.
Yeah, because he was the part of the Real Madrid team on the first part of the season, which was amazing. For me, he was big surprise. No, I know that he is very good player from Baskonia years and everything, but what impact he gave to Madrid in the start of the season was amazing. And how important to start the season, let's say when you are main big guy, Tavares, not performing well, and you are stepping up for him and making the team play amazing, and he was the big part of Real Madrid's successful start, I think. So those 3 guys are really impressive from the start of the season.
There are no Olympiacos centers in the top 3. Not surprising, coming off an ex-Panathinaikos player, right?
Yeah. It
No
is
comments needed.
but course, we can mention Milutino for fall, but I have my top 3 picks, and I'm happy with them.
Yeah, I mean, both Olympiacos guys, they were really good as well. But you mentioned 3 solid picks on your list. I already tweeted about Jan Vesely. It feels like he's making every right play on the court, and it's not necessarily that he's having some impressive, excellent numbers in efficiency or in points. Although he's having solid numbers, it's all about him doing all these right plays. And maybe a lot of people expected Willy Hernangomez to be that main facilitator for Barcelona. But I mean, I would say that so far, Jan Vesely's impact on that team was bigger and more important. And since you have such 2 great centers on your team, I mean, it's a huge advantage that you have in the EuroLeague. And if let's say we count Chimo Monek as a center, you would have included him in your top 3?
I mean, you must to give credit for him. I think he is most valuable player maybe right now, and the guy who comes from Monaco, and is the good example how right team with the right game type is completely changing you as a player. And it's all about in EuroLeague everybody can play. I think every player on the roster in the special first 10 teams, 8 teams, everybody can play. It's just matter of minutes and the game or fitting for you or no. So this is all the difference.
And guys, I have the last 3 questions to you about the NBA. I shared some of these clips with you before the podcast, and I just want to hear what do you think, how do you feel about those moments? And starting from Gregg Popovich during the game, taking the microphone in his hands and urging San Antonio Spurs fans to stop booing Kawhi Leonard. What do you think of it?
I mean, it just shows that the respect that Pop has for his ex-players and the power and control that he has in a league that's dominated by players. Pop is one of the few coaches who still has the reins of his organization and wants to portray a certain type of image through the organization. And I think that's just him thinking long term. He wants his players to feel loved and respected, whether they're current players, whether they're ex-players. And when players see that, people see that, it makes you feel good that, I'm sure Kawhi Leonard was at the free throw line like, dang, Pop is a good dude. Even when I'm not with him, even when I left the team, I'm no longer there. Like, and as a player looking on the outside, you're thinking maybe, San Antonio is not a bad place. You got, no state taxes in Texas. Wembanyama is an emerging star. Going to be one of the players that changed the game. They got a very good young core. And you got a coach who's a Hall of Fame coach who's going to go to bat for you and protect you. Maybe Pop's thinking long term about potential recruits to pair up next to his budding star. So you just think like, that just shows his character and the person he is. But then I also think like the business part of me, he's smart. He's playing chess.
Maybe he's going to try to trade for Kawhi Leonard at some point. To build a winning team around Wembanyama. I'm asking you because I think that some Europeans that might think that, this head coach, Gregg Popovich is soft. We're in Europe. We saw way worse things and nobody was interrupting games and taking the microphone. But at the same time, for instance, I remember there were some tweets. Could you imagine Željko Obradović doing the same because in Serbia or just in Europe in general, it's not happening? Actually, it happened. I remember watching some games or even I just watched those games on TV. And I remember, I think it was like Partizan playing their home game. And I think that Partizan fans were like insulting badly maybe the owner of the Red Star the context was like that, they were just insulting somebody during game. And I remembered, I think there was the situation where he took the microphone over and he kind of calmed their fans down, or at least he was doing all those gestures at the bench, trying to say, guys, this is not needed at all and we might be different. So it happens in Europe as well. And for me, the head coach protecting his former player in front of their fans, that's a nice sign for sure.
And he won all those championships, played there, gave his heart and soul. I mean, you really don't boo a guy who won for you,
Yeah.
and who's always been classy. He never says anything. Kawhi never bothers nobody. So, that's not the guy you target.
What do you feel? How do you react watching Russell Westbrook shouting all over the place? Go at him, pointing to Luka Doncic after and one play.
Okay, look, we all know that Luka's not that biggest strength is defense, but I feel this kind of disrespectful a little bit, because you cannot. You can, of course, but I don't see that as a good thing to shout at NBA All-Star like this. You must put some respect on him, and okay, it's part of competition, part of everything, but we all know that it's not still NBA playoffs. It's like, okay, regular season game, and you're going like this against him. I think Luka have something a little bit for him back in the next games. I think the story will continue, but it's just my personal opinion, because Luka is a competitive guy, and he cannot let it like this. But it's my opinion.
Yeah, for me, I like it. I think a lot of times the regular season gets kind of watered down. Doesn't have that intensity, that fire, sometimes that excitement. And I think when you get a guy like Russell Westbrook, who's competitive, who goes hard every night talking, and Luka's a competitor. When people talk to him, he laughs, he smiles, he has his little smirk, and he just takes it to another level. And I think, if that's what it takes to get them to compete, every night, not in the fourth quarter, not when it's close. Like, I want to see it from the jump ball, like they do in the playoffs. And I know it's hard with 82 game schedule, but just seeing that they care. I see Westbrook cares. He wants to win his game. He wants to challenge a player. And anytime you do it to a player of Luka's stature, you're talking about two Hall of Famers, Luka, Russell Westbrook, great players in their own right. That's going to take their focus and their desire to another level. And I think it's only going to improve the quality of play. Is it a little bit disrespectful? Yeah. But I always say, if you don't want someone to talk trash, lock them up. Don't let them score. That's how you stop it. And so like, when people get mad, when people are celebrating and they're playing against our team, that's what I tell them. Like, if you don't want them to celebrate, stop them. Or win the game. Then they can't talk. And that's just my mindset always.
Yeah, we all know Eric as a great defender, lockdown defense. 35 points.
If you can't stop him, outscore him.
You score, yeah. But you cannot be on the both sides great. You must sacrifice something.
Yeah, it takes too much energy, for sure. That's why those defenders, those Pat Beverleys of the world, those guys, they make good money so that Luka don't have to play defense.
Yeah. And the first thing that comes to my mind is that I want LA Clippers and Dallas Mavericks in the NBA playoffs. I mean, that's a great setup already to have this matchup between Luka and Russell, because Luka for sure is not giving away this one, and he will for sure remember this one. So probably another rivalry is emerging as we're enjoying Devin Booker against Luka. Now it's another interesting playoff intrigue, additional spicy stuff. And just the last reaction, we kind of covered it in the beginning, so I would change the question. It was more about Wembanyama versus Jokic, the first matchup. This quick question would be, let's say, forwarded to Arturas. Let's say, watching Wembanyama, I don't remember if you actually had the opportunities to play against him when he was with Asvel in the EuroLeague. He played a few games. But watching the player like him, and the player, watching how he developed, if you would try to imagine yourself matching him up as a center, how would you try to play him? How would you try to, stop his dominance? How would you try to take him out of the game?
I mean, it's a hard question right now to think. Talking about NBA is completely different. You have an open court and everything, and it's completely different than Europe. We had him in Asheville right here. He was not such a big power. He was young still, but I mean, he was like, coach doesn't play him a lot and everything. So you need to be physical with him, of course, because he just 19 right now, right? And okay, but after a couple of years, he will grow bigger, I think, and I don't know how the people will stop him. The potential is crazy, and probably talking about something that we never seen. But it's still very, very early to talk about, and you are comparing now him with Jokic. You don't need to forget that Jokic is probably the best player in the world right now, and to put these expectations and pressure on the young guy, we don't need to do that. Of course, he probably doesn't hear us, but in general, people in the States, overseas, putting a lot of pressure on him and to be great. And I think he doesn't need this like comparing with the Jokic, whatever. He just need to be himself, and to play game what he loves, and be himself. And I think he have a bright future. I don't know. I answer on your question how to stop him. Probably it will be impossible if he will be healthy, especially in the NBA game. But
how would you stop him playing national team basketball, Lithuania, France?
I mean, as I mentioned, right now he is not a physical player. He is like type of face-up game and pick and roll, dunk the ball, or okay, he can drive the ball also. But I mean, I think physicality is the issue, the biggest one. You cannot find big problems with him or big disadvantages because he is skillful, he is tall, he can shoot, he can dribble, he can do the things. I don't know what you expect to say that I must say, but I don't know. I mean, it's probably the physicality is one issue, but it develop. He will develop this thing, and I wish nothing, just the best for him. So that's the case, and France national team looks scary for me. I don't know who can match this potential and talent in upcoming years. It looks like we have a next big team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're already a big team, and they will stay at the top for years.
Yeah,
Anyways,
but also they have also that talent who also coming. This big guy Sar, whatever his name, he is also amazing talent, and also this three-man
I mean,
was also
yeah,
in the
Ousmane Dieng probably.
No, he was.
No. Risa Sher. You're talking about
Yes,
Risa Sher.
also. I mean, it's amazing growing talents, and I wish Lithuania will have something in the 10 years, something similar.
You gotta have some more babies, bro. More babies. Get some Lithuanian talents out there.
Okay, that's a great advice to everyone.
I close my fabric with it too. That's it.
Yeah, the basketball farm is closed.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Thank you all. That's a great advice and wish to everybody that are listening to our podcast. Make more babies to produce talents, at least in Lithuania or wherever you're hearing the podcast. That was a nice 2-hour conversation with you guys. That was a nice pick and roll pair, I would say. So thank you both for being there.
Thank you guys for having me. You have a great season, Eric. Stay healthy and best luck of you, okay?
Thank you. Always a pleasure. And good to work with you. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll be teammates in Japan.
Yeah, please welcome.
You never know. They like old man, huh?